Hello everyone. I hope all of you guys are doing good. Welcome to your financial accounting orientation session. Myself, Kavya Ravichandran. I am an ACCA member where I am going to take you through the financial accounting orientation for you guys. So I know all of you guys are very new to ACCA and you guys are just in the knowledge level, right? Because the financial accounting paper is one of the important paper in knowledge level. So in this orientation session, I'm going to take you through each and every bit, like what you need to know before you start the financial accounting. Right from how the exam happens, what are the structures that you can expect to have, and what is going to be the core syllabus. Ma'am, I come from 12th standard background. Like, will there be any kind of connection towards my 12th standard syllabus and the financial accounting, or I come from a degree background, like am studying BCom or have studied BCom, whatever it is. So is there a chance where there will be a connection? Or ma'am, I come from a different background, like I have not studied commerce at all. So do you think like I need to study something else for basics, or is it itself with the basics? So I'm going to take you through all of these things. Plus additionally, what are the syllabuses, and which are the sources, or I mean resources and the materials that you guys have to refer in terms of studying the concepts and solving the questions. These things will also be covered in your orientation. And coming to the recorded sessions that we have, that I have done personally, so how are we gonna consider, like, I mean, ma'am, where do we start if I'm taking the lecture? Like, how do we study? What are the things that I have to consider? Plus, additionally, I'm going to take you through a little bit introduction towards the subject too. This is the basic thing that we're going to cover in what? Cover in your orientation, right? So now before I get into the orientation part, like what and all I want to cover. So first thing is, like, every part, every bit is over, I will be coming back to the live chat and see like if I can answer your questions. And I want you guys to please stick to the questions which is relevant to the session. Yeah, some irrelevant questions you can keep it at the end so that it doesn't break the flow. And let me be very clear, guys, this is a complete English batch. So I had to speak in English. So until unless you're not understanding what I'm talking during the live chat, you can ask me. I'll try to talk to you guys in a particular language. But the orientation session is gonna be completely in English because this is completely an English version. So you want a English version or Hindi version, I think it is already available. You guys can go through that. Okay. Great. So let's start. We will be starting with the first thing called examination structure or exam pattern. So you guys need to understand your financial accounting paper is purely an on-demand examination. So I wouldn't say, I mean, like, I wouldn't say it has where you, ma'am, what is on demand? That means, can I just write whenever I want? See, the meaning of on demand is typically that one, like you can write whenever you want, but that doesn't mean you can actually write like tomorrow and all of that. So typically there will be examination centers. For example, especially, ma'am, I've studied, I've prepared for my entire financial accounting. Now can I go contact a session, I mean, can I go contact a center? Yes, you can go ahead and book the exam from approved centers. There'll be certain approved exam centers where you have to go ahead and book the exams from them. That is the first thing that you need to keep it in mind. Now, ma'am, where these centers are available, you can always find out in the ACCA platform, or else the PW team will assist you in terms of that once your preparation is done. But ma'am, can I write the exam if I want to write it in the next week? Yes, you can. Ma'am, I'm done with the preparation. I don't want to wait for others. Can I write my examination tomorrow? I mean, in a day or two? Yes, provided if that particular exam center has the slot for you, you can go ahead and write the exam. So it is going to be a computer-based examination, purely computer-based. But you can't write it in your personal laptop. Keep that in mind. So it is computer based. I'm not saying no to that. But that doesn't mean you can go ahead and write it in your personal laptop. Personal laptop is something that we can't expect. So it has to be coming from the center based. I mean, the center will itself give their computer for you guys. So you have to use those things in terms of writing the examination, right? And then the duration, the exam duration is of how many marks? It is of 2 hours. So 120 minutes is what allotted to you guys. So this 120 minutes is completely dedicated for your 100 marks. Ma'am, isn't it less time? See, considering the pattern of question, I don't feel it is a less time, because you are not going to type anything. It is pure MCQ. So typically you can expect to have 2 hours for the entire 100 marks, and your passing marks is 50 marks. You score 50, you pass. So in this whole part, you guys need to understand there is no negative marking. No negative marking at all. So that means it's either 0 or the marks. It's either 0 or the marks. So there is no negative marking at all. So that is something that you have to keep it in mind. So this is basically about the exam pattern. So ma'am, what kind of questions you can expect to have, how the exam structure works? Look at this. So the exam structure is divided from, first section A will be there, where in section A you're expected to have 35 objective type questions. Like it's like an MCQ. Yeah, it's like what? It's like an MCQ where you will be having certain questions. It could be I would say it could be a choose the following. Choose the following. Or it can also be, I would say, fill in the blanks. It can also be fill in the blanks. Or it can also be match the following. Yeah, match the following. So you can have true or false questions. True or false questions. So it can be typically, which is MCQ question, drag down, drop down. Yeah, drag down or drop down. These are the typical type of questions that you can expect to have. Okay, so these comes from various topics. I mean, it is not from a specific topic. Like it can come from accounting concepts, it can come from double entry principles, it can also come from ledger accounts, it can come from trial balance for that matter, right? It can come from any part of your syllabus. It can come from financial statements, any basic accounting calculations. It can just come from any part of your entire financial accounting syllabus. Not necessarily it has to come from one place. So 35 questions will be there, where it is 2 marks each, which will cover 70 marks. Now let's say, assume question number 40, let's say question number 14, let's say. It says which two of the following, which two of the following blah 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 is the answer? Option A, option B, option C, option D. Assume these two are the right answer, but you have selected A and B. This is the selected answer from the student. So ma'am, you're supposed to give 2 marks, right? There are 2 answers in this. One answer though it is already wrong, because I was supposed to consider B and D, but I have selected A and B. So this is wrong, I understood. For this 1 mark, will it be given? No guys, it is either 0 or 2. You need to understand, it's either 0 or 2. There is no one single mark which will be awarded. It is going to be either an complete 0 or an even number. That is something that you have to keep it in mind, right? Yeah, so this is basically the section A part, where 35 objective type questions, where 2 marks each, where overall 70 marks will be awarded to you guys. That is one part. Okay, and then comes the section B. So what is this section B? It is 2 MTQ questions will be awarded. What is this 2 MTQ questions? Maybe it takes the big topics like preparation of financial statements. Yeah, preparation of financial statements, or cash flows, consolidation, like bigger topics. Yeah, these sort of topics will come into MTQ. where you'll have two MTQ. Each MTQ, see, when I say MTQ, it is multitask questions. So you will have certain questions. It's not like you will not have, but you'll have step marking. That means you can expect to have, it's a mixture of 1 mark. It's a mixture of 1 marks and 2 marks. It's all mixture of those sort of questions where you can expect to have each carries of 15 marks. In total, it covers around 30 marks for you guys. So what are these questions we'll be considering? These questions are typically into how do we apply the accounting knowledge into practical scenarios. I mean, like if you have a company and that company is following certain values, on that how do we consider? It is typically going to be like a preparation of financial statement in terms of MCQ. Yeah, so that we call it as what? That we call it as MTQ. It also includes analyzing the transactions, ratio analysis, interpretation, all of these parts. Okay. But apart from this, like, okay, ma'am, this covers the entire 100 marks. Is it how the whole examination works? Yes. So if you talk about the examination part, the exam pattern, so you'll have 2 hours and 100 marks is the total examination marks, with the pass marks being 50 marks. And you will have that is completely computer based examination with on demand exam. That means if you are ready today, you can write it, provided if you have the available slots, right? Yeah. So apart from that, we also need to understand that you have I mean, like, do you have practiced enough questions? Yes, you can go ahead and do this. So section A and section B, there are two sort of sections in your financial accounting. So this is typically what? Typically your exam structure and pattern. So I'm moving to the, before I get into the syllabus and the subject content, I'm moving towards the live chat. If you guys have any sort of questions, you can post it on your live chat. I'm ready to answer for a minute before I move to the next part of your orientation. Hello, Aarti. Please tell me if you have any questions. Okay, you've taken English version. No problem. It's okay. That should not be a problem. As long as you're able to learn, it should be fine. Just that this is English version. Okay, is anybody else having a question before I move forward? Really? Is FA paper really difficult? Not really, guys. Paper is not difficult. I'm gonna take you through the subject content. I'll show you guys what are the things that is involved in financial accounting. I really don't think it is that difficult. As long as you prepare enough. Okay. I'm moving towards the next section. Assuming there is no questions. Okay. Now, let's talk about the subject content. If you guys can see, what are the typical things that we can expect to have in your financial accounting? See, we have the syllabus divided in certain sections. So if you see, the first section is about what? This first section is about the context and purpose of financial reporting. I mean, why do we need financial reporting? Why do we have to look at the financial statements? This is the basic thing that we have to go ahead and consider, right? Yeah, so why as majorly that we have to consider, uh, ultimately that ultimately the financial accounting is going to support what? Support the financial business, right? Like we have business and we have to go ahead and support them in terms of accounting knowledge. So this accounting knowledge is something that we are considering. Why and how? What is the main purpose? This is the first thing that we are going to learn here, right? And to do this, we need to learn certain accounting principles, concepts, and the characteristics of accounts. Like how are we gonna consider? This is the second part of the syllabus that we will be learning. And then comes, okay, to do this, we need to understand how double entry system works, how accounting system works, right? Yeah. So once I understand that, I record the transactions. Okay, so recording transaction involves a lot of elements. And then I prepare a trial balance. Then I do reconciliations. I'll check like why there is differences, why is it not matching. And then I prepare my trial balance, which is the rehearsal version of your financial statements. And then using the trial balance, I will prepare financial statements. And once the financial statements are prepared, like I use this individual financial statements to prepare consolidated financial statements, and the same individual financial statements is used to interpret, to make the analyzation. This is what the major element which is covered in your covered in your financial accounting. Now I'm going to take you through, guys, one by one each. See, look at this. The first thing that we have here is what? The context and purpose of financial reporting. Here we are going to learn like why do we need to do external reporting? I as an organization have made profits. Why do I have to show to outside world? Why it is not kept within the business? Right? Yeah, why we have to provide our financial statements to an outside people, like external reporting. And then comes, okay, who are going to look into this? These people are called as stakeholders. What is their needs? Right? Yeah. Okay. That means, am I going to show everything and anything about my financial reports? No, there are certain main elements that we need to know. And who is telling us to do all of this? Which accounting standard do we have to follow? Right? I am also responsible when I prepare my financial statements to an outside world. I am responsible because I'm giving the information about a whole organization. Sometimes it could be a very big organization which can have a greater impact on economy. So there is a chance because of that, lot of maybe changes in shares can happen. A lot of things that can expect to happen, right? So this is the typical first element that you will be learning. That is the context and purpose of what? Purpose of financial reporting. Yeah, so the scope, the needs of the shareholders and stakeholders, the elements of financial report, right? And who's gonna look into all of this, like the regulatory framework. And we have duties and responsibilities of people who are charged with governance. That is like how a company is responsible for maintaining the financial statements rightly, having a good internal control. We will be learning that in part A. And now, okay, I'm going to produce this information to an outside world. This outside world needs a good quality information. You can't just give anything and everything to them, right? It has to be a good quality information. So if I have to say an information is quality enough, then what are the characteristics to be defined to say it is quality enough? To say the qualitative characteristics of financial information, what are the things that we have to consider? What are the qualitative characteristics that we have to go ahead and consider? That we call it as what? The section, the part B, like accounting principles, concepts, on what basis we prepare financial statements. So sometimes I know there are standards, but I don't know what are the things that I have to keep it in it, right? So principles, concepts, and how qualitative characteristics of a useful financial information works. This part we will be learning in the B section, the B part of your syllabus. So these two are completely theory, guys. The initial classes will gonna be completely theory, as I already said. So you guys have to be very, very very patient enough to move towards the practical subject of it, because even I know you can move to the practical subject, I'm not saying no to that, but however it will take some time, guys. Yeah, it will definitely take some time to get into practical papers. क्योंकि I ultimately, I mean, practical part of your syllabus, because ultimately you'll be having what? You'll be having set of theoretical information that you have to learn before you move forward. So make sure that we need to know this. Fair enough? Yeah, I hope we are very much clear and good enough on that. Great. So now we will move to the next part of the syllabus, that we call it as what? That we call it as the use of double entry bookkeeping systems and accounting systems. How do we do double entry system? How do we do double entry system? How do we record the transaction? How do we consider the transaction? This part we call it as what? This part we call it as the use of double entry bookkeeping system. I mean, dual concept is one of the major element that we have to keep it in mind before I go ahead and pass the journal entry, right? So this dual concept will be taught to you guys in your financial accounting. Now we'll try to compare your actual, let's say you come from BCom, or you don't come from BCom, you come from 12th standard commerce background, or you come from a science background where 12th standard. So anybody who's watching right now, if you come from a 12th standard science background, you can drop a live chat so that I will cover you also when I talk. But typically, let's say you come from a 12th standard commerce background, or you come from a BCom background, or you come from a science background, what happens? This double entry is the core basic of your syllabus, guys. It's about how do we pass the journal entry, how do we record the transaction. It's majorly like, okay, how do we debit, how do we credit? Yeah, so it's majorly about how do we debit, how do we credit. So debiting and crediting is the major element of your financial accounting, which will be taught to you guys in the part C of your syllabus, that is the use of double entry bookkeeping and accounting system. So this double entry bookkeeping principles, which talks about how ledger accounts are prepared, how journal entries are issued, this is the core of your financial accounting. So once you understand what to debit, what to credit, then you actually now have to go record the transactions. So when I talk about record the transactions, we will start with sales and purchases, which is very common transaction. This is very common transactions. So we will start with common transactions that happens in the organization first, and then cash is paid and received on lot of elements. Yeah, first these two things we will go ahead and understand how do we actually record the transactions. Like if I have a regular sales, like how do we record the sales? How do we record the sales returns? How do we record purchases? How do we record purchase returns? So what if it is a credit sale? What if it is a cash sale? Right? Yeah. So based on this sales and purchases, if it is credit or cash, so the result of credit or cash, the result of credit, sales and purchases are nothing but receivables and payables. So using the same double entry concept, I will also understand how those receivables and payables are accounted for. So we use sales and purchases, which is very common transaction in any organization. So with the same sales and purchases, I will link with, if there is a credit sales and purchases, I will link with receivables and payables. Similarly, if it is a cash purchases, cash sales, then the immediate second part that you can see, where we will be going ahead and connecting there. We'll be going ahead and connecting there. So this is typically what? This is typically the first elements of your recording transactions. Then apart from that, you will have certain other elements. Like for example, we will have to learn what is accruals and prepayments. What is accruals and prepayments? There are certain expenses and income, yeah, which could have been paid in advance, yeah, or received in advance. Paid in advance or received in advance. Or sometimes what happens, we have, yeah, not received the amount that you have earned for or paid. So these things, how do we account for? For example, I have electricity expenses that I have utilized, but I have not paid yet. I mean, or maybe the invoice is not generated from the electricity board yet. Now, how do we account for it? Correct, because it is not a regular transactions, right? Me paying insurance for the next year also, it is not a regular transaction. It is not going to happen every single day like your sales and purchases. How do we account for these kind of transactions where we might have not paid the amount, but we would have utilized the expenses? Or sometimes we would prepay the expenses for the upcoming year also. Then how do we consider that part? Or sometimes the customer has given us the amount even though before the services have been provided. How do we record that? Like if I got any amount in received in advance, or sometimes I would have given the services, the customer wouldn't have paid. So how do I record those kind of transactions? Will be shown to you guys in accruals and prepayments. Fair enough. Yeah. Then we have certain transactions which is not something that you guys would have learned here in your 12th standard or in your BCom. So I'm damn sure that you guys would have studied about sales and purchases, cash, double entry system, receivables and payables, accruals and prepayments are nothing but outstanding expenses, and I'm talking about outstanding expenses and prepaid expenses, or pre-received income or outstanding income. These are the things that I'm actually talking about. I'm damn sure you guys would have already studied about this. Now we will be moving forward with certain elements that you wouldn't have studied. See, somewhere to an extent you guys would have studied inventory, but not the whole inventory. So for your financial accounting, you guys will be learning IAS 2 inventory. It is going to be your IFRS standards. IAS 2 inventory, where it is going to be your completely IFRS standards, right? Yeah. So we use the standard to understand how inventory is actually recorded, right? Then comes, okay, if I have an asset, see, this is something you guys would have learned already, but however we will learn according to the international accounting standard IAS 16, property, plant and equipment. So if you have any sort of tangible non-current asset, how do we account for? Guys, we would have learned in your 12th standard saying that if you have non-current asset, how depreciation is calculated, how carrying amount is calculated, how accumulated depreciation is calculated. I believe somewhere you guys would have learned. But if you are coming from a science background, as I said, फिर से again from the basic we will be learning in our financial accounting. Yeah. And similarly, we will also have what? Intangible non-current asset. That is something that you guys will be learning for the first time. And these two elements are very, very new. I'm sure this is new elements that you're looking at, which is provisions and contingencies plus capital structure and finance cost. These things are completely new to what? New to your syllabus that you have been learning from very long time. So but apart from that, till here everything you guys would have one or the other way you would have learned. Maybe provisions and contingencies also to an extent you would have learned little bit. Capital structure also, you know what is share capital, what is share premium is. So these things you would have learned, but an in-depth knowledge will be taught to you guys in financial accounting. This is where you will expect to have a new syllabus coming into the picture, right? Yeah, this is the first set of syllabus, but I would say this is the core of your financial accounting. Agar if you know these much, then the remaining part and all is going to be really easy for you guys. Okay. Yeah. So now I'm moving forward with the live chat before so this is the half of the syllabus. The remaining half will be explained to you guys once I go through the live chat. So guys, if you have any queries or questions till now, please go ahead and post it on the chat box. I'm all ears. Okay, I believe there are no questions. So I'm waiting another 1 more minute. Please let me know if you have any questions, or else I'm moving towards the next part. Okay. Yeah, I believe no questions. I'm moving forward to the next part of your syllabus. So, ma'am, once I go ahead and record, then what do we do? I know certain elements that you have told us that about recording and stuff. So, once we go ahead and record, what is the next thing that we will go ahead and do? Guys, we do little reconciliations. I mean, we go ahead and check figures are. You go check whether the figures are matching. Check whether the figures are matching. For example, I'll check my bank account details and I'll say, and I'll look into my cashier bank and I'll see, oh yeah, is both the balances are matching? Then we call it as, yeah, both are matching. We don't have to worry much. But what if both are not matching? Then maybe we have to go ahead and do a little reconciliation. I mean, we have to see why the balances are not matching. So you need to understand most of the things. Sometimes most of the elements will not be matching. So these most of the elements not getting matching, as an accountant, it's our job to go ahead and cross verify why these things are not getting matched, why these things are not actually the same. So that is something that we have to go ahead and consider, everyone. Right. So what are the major things that we will reconcile? We will reconcile bank reconciliation and also payables account reconciliation. So what is bank reconciliation? My cash at bank balance. I mean, I have told that in the bank I should have some $10,000, and when I actually look into the bank, it is around $9,700. Why these two are not matching is something that we have to go ahead and consider. Right. Similarly, let's say my payables account value, the payables ledger account shows around $9,000 that I have to pay to my supplier. But in reality, it is I have to give them $9,700. Why these $700 is not matching? Why am I supposed to pay extra according to the supplier books of accounts? This discrepancy has to be sorted out. Sometimes the goods have been sent by the supplier, but it is not reached to you yet, or you made the payment which is not reached to the supplier yet. Some timing differences are there. These things are something that I have to go ahead and find out and say, okay, these are all the reasons why it is not matching. That we call it as reconciliation. So once I reconcile these things, once I find out the differences of these things, then what do you have to do? Then we have to go ahead and prepare the trial balance. Then what do we have to do? When we have to go ahead and prepare the trial balance. Now, what is this preparation of trial balance? It is more of using to rectifying the errors, I would say, or it is more of one step before you prepare the financial statements. Before you say, yes, this is the summarized version of your financial information, before that, so you have to prepare the balance which is trial in nature. So it gives all the account balances. It will give all the account balances, like every single part of it, like, oh, I have so much sales, I have so much purchases, so I have so much receivables, payables. So every single thing put together shows, yeah, these are all the balances. Now looking at the balances, it helps us to correct if there is any kind of errors which can be found out in what, in your trial balance. So it can be used to what? Used to find out if there is any sort of errors in trial balance. So which can be rectified or corrected before even we go ahead and prepare the financial statements. Now, when I rectify the errors, there is a concept called suspense accounts which will come into that. This is only used to rectify the errors. So once we use all of this and once we rectify all the errors, then we prepare the financial statements. So when I say financial statements, what are the elements which is involved in financial statements? Your statement of financial position, which is also called as balance sheet. I'm 200% sure if you're coming from a 12th standard background, I'm sure this is something that you guys would have already done. But in terms of financial accounting, is it going to be exactly same? No, it is going to be similar. That the way of preparing financial statements or terminologies, for example, see certain element, if you see in your 12th standard, you just have to put 2 lines and you'll still get marks, but yahan pe it doesn't work that way. So we have to make sure that what is the requirement from financial accounting part, like from our ACCA part. So this is very, very important for us, that how we prepare a balance sheet. And then statement of P&L. So it is nothing but trading and P&L account that we would have done. It is still the same. And then there is very important part that you guys wouldn't have learned in your regular values. It is notes to accounts. Yeah. And then we have certain events after reporting period. For example, ek bar, once I prepare financial statement, there could be certain elements which can happen after we prepare the financial statements, but or after we are done with the year ending, but before we publish our financial statements, agar there is a chance certain events are happening, can those events also be adjusted in your financial statements? Yes, why not? That is events after reporting period. But what events has to be adjusted, what events shouldn't be adjusted, should be given from the standard point of view. And then we have statement of cash flows. And then we also have incomplete record. So these are all the major elements that we need to know to prepare the financial statements. As I said, this is the place where you will be expect to start to have MTQ questions. So you can expect to have what? MTQ coming from preparing the financial statements. Unless like whatever we have studied till now, chances of those things coming to MTQ slightly lesser compared to the preparing financial statements, because here you can expect to have MTQ questions coming into the picture. So this is the next element of your syllabus content. I mean the syllabus part. Apart from this, ma'am, once I prepare the financial statements, is that all? No. Now comes the next bit, which we call it as preparing the financial consolidated statements and then interpretation of financial statements. So let me tell you, for your financial accounting, it is the basics. So the advanced versions for both of them are covered in financial reporting. So you guys need to understand, this is something which is very new. I'm sure you wouldn't have done in your 12th standard and all of that. This wouldn't have taught to you guys. So this is going to be new in your financial accounting. So this is purely a full-fledged FA syllabus. You can't have any references anywhere else. So it's going to be what? It's going to be purely the financial accounting part, no matter what. So as I said, you guys need to understand what? You guys need to understand that make sure, I mean, whatever we consider, make sure that we go ahead and consider the whole part. Correct? Yeah. Great. So then comes what? Then comes the next element of consolidation, as I said. So you guys have the basic part of subsidiaries and associates coming into the picture. Yeah. And in terms of interpretation, you'll have ratios, and how do we analyze the ratios? The basics are given in your financial accounting, which we will typically learn it in what? Learn it in your financial accounting subject itself when we move forward. Right now, you guys don't have to be worried. But again, you can expect to have MTQs coming from these. So MTQ questions can come, that the 30 marks that we discussed, the 2 questions on the exam content, that is something that we can expect to have here. Okay, great. So now this is the syllabus content that I wanted to explain to you guys, which we are good to go with. Now I want you guys to if you have any sort of questions, please drop the message on your live chat box, which I'm ready to answer. Please go ahead. So we are going to take a pause for a minute or two to answer if there is any kind of questions. Okay, I believe there are no questions, if I'm not wrong. I don't see any questions. Okay, great. So moving forward towards the next part of your orientation, which I'm going to majorly talk about the resources. So, ma'am, what is the resource that we have to go ahead and use it for our preparation? So, do we have to use do we have to use BPP? Do we have to use Kaplan? Do we have to use ACCA Study Hub? What exactly we have to go ahead and use? So, when I talk about the resources, there are multiple resources that is available, right? Like these are all the major things that we have in our publications part. See, guys, I divide your study process into two. One is the content, one is the content or conceptual understanding, either content or conceptual understanding. So that is to understand a particular topic. For example, inventory ke baare mein, first you need to understand. Then I would divide that into question solving practice kits. Now, to all the three materials, if you guys know, you will have two divisions. One is study text, that means you have the concepts. Another one is question solving, the practice kits. Now, ma'am, if I'm gonna study, conceptual understanding, do I have to go ahead and read all the three? Not really. Do I have to go read all the three? Not at all. Not really at all, guys. You don't have to read all the three at all. So you just have to do what? You just have to keep one material at a time. Like for example, it can be either BPP or Kaplan or Study Hub. That is coming from ACCA Study Hub. So any one is enough. Any one. Or you can use even class notes. Or you can even use class notes that we have got it. So in our sessions, the recorded sessions of financial accounting, what we have done, we have gone ahead and taken all the topics one by one. Okay, all the topics one by one. So these topics are covered in such a way that Study Hub is the major references that I have used in the classes. So maybe you guys can just simply use that. That should help your life. That should actually help you in a better way. Correct? Yeah. So this is something that you can go ahead and do. One way of studying. Right. Now comes the question solving part. What is this question solving part? It's about practicing questions. Now, when I talk about practicing questions, do I have to go ahead and use one material? No, I would suggest please do all of them, because It's not about you just understand the questions, you just understand the topics and move on. See, you understand the topics and move on. I do understand somewhere deep down it is the basic thing that we need, but just understanding the concept will not make you completing. I mean, understanding the concept will not give you the overall overview about the subject. You need to practice the question irrespective, no matter what. So to practice these questions, what do we have to consider? We have to consider certain elements. What are those elements that we consider? Of course, in terms of practicing questions, in terms of going towards the multiple part, these are all the things that we have to keep it in our mind. This is very, very important for us. Right? Yeah, this is also very, very important for us. So considering all of these elements, so I would say take one material for your resources for conceptual understanding, the BBP, Kaplan, or Study Hub, any one of these, or simply follow my class notes. It's more than enough. Either this or, as I said, one of them. When I talk about question solving, you have to do all of them. Guys, don't worry. When I say all of them, don't get overwhelmed because, ma'am, you're telling all of them, like each one of them having 300 questions, 400 questions. That means together I might have to solve 1000 questions. Guys, mostly it is all repeated. Mostly it is all repeated. So the repeated versions, you guys can always, it is going to be a complete revision for you guys. Even though if it is repeated, it is going to be a complete revision. So make sure you do all of them. That's very, very important. Yeah? Which is very, very important for us. Now, I'm stopping before I go and talk about the approach towards our ACCA. I'm going to see if there is any sort of live chat. Let me go ahead and check. I'm in class 12th. Okay, my class 12. Divyansh, if I'm not wrong. So, okay, how can I start? See, all you have to do is get yourself ACCA registration done. Just contact PW team on that. They will help you in terms of registering towards ACCA. So once you get yourself registered towards your ACCA, you will have 3 different levels. That is knowledge level, skill level, and professional level. So you can start with knowledge level since you're coming from a 12th standard background. So if you're right now in 12th standard, I mean you've started your 12th standard before your board exams comes, maybe you can finish 1 or 2 subjects and then you can move forward with your board exams. Yeah, but yes, doable, and lot of things will be clarified when you do financial accounting, business technology and all. When you do, it is very correlates with your 12th standard syllabus. You feel like your 12th standard is not a thing anymore, like you don't feel it is a big element or big part of your education or curriculum anymore. So that is something that you have to keep it in mind. Yeah, Dipesh? Great. Karna, good morning. You have any questions? Great. This is the resources part, guys. So you guys can keep dropping a messages. So I will definitely come back. Thank you for giving me heart also. So keep dropping the messages on the chat box. I'll come back to you guys like whenever I get in between a time. So yes, this is typically based on what people, this is typically based on the resources that we are talking about. Okay. Then comes the learning resources. Now, ma'am, then comes the approach towards the financial accounting. So what are we going to consider in terms of financial accounting? How do we approach in our syllabus? In our classes. So what are the things that we're going to consider? Of course, first we will be concentrated on the concept first. Like we will make sure that I'm not going to let you guys memorize any sort of journal entries and everything. We will make sure that we will understand each and every part of the journal entry before we go ahead and say yes, let's pass the entry. So and every logic, I mean, because every transaction I somewhere deep down assume or understand that we need to make sure that we know the logic behind each and every transaction. That is something which is very, very important for us, right? Yeah. And second element is you have to make sure you master your double entry. So what is mastering the double entry? Like guys, as I said, double entry system is one of the key core element that you have to keep it in mind. So because you need to understand, okay, why we debit, why do we credit, the golden rules. So in our financial accounting, we will be learning something called modern rules of accounting instead of golden rules of accounting. So how this rules of accounting works, like how do we even consider? So that is something that we have to keep it in mind. Yeah. And then comes we learn the accounting process. See, I know that I told you guys there is a business transactions. And Divyansh, hello, please drop your question, whatever you have. Yeah. So I told you guys that there is business transactions that we will have to go ahead and recognize first, and then the journal entry, then ledger. The process is something that you guys need to understand, right? Because the accounting has a process, guys. Accounting has a whole big process which we need to understand, and this is my favorite element for a lot of students. This is favorite and very mandatory element for every single student on this earth, guys. It's practice, practice, practice. Take class questions, activity, practice. I would have given homework questions, practice. Take BPP and Kaplan, practice. ACCA study hub, practice. Every single thing has to be practiced. Every single element has to be practiced. Yeah. Along with that, please do a regular revisions. That is, prepare your summary notes, stick it on to your wall. Make sure that you revise all of that every single day. And then comes the exam practice part, like where we will learn there are certain mock exams that I want you guys to do. Time management is very, very important. That I'll be teaching you guys. And the exam techniques, for example, certain questions has to be tackled in a different way, or maybe you have done a mistake, how we have to analyze those mistakes is also going to be taught to you guys in this whole approach towards your financial accounting. So you understand the concept, apply it, practice, revise, and then perform. This is the success formula for us to clear the financial accounting paper. Yeah, great. So now I'm coming to the live chat, everyone. So if there is any sort of question, so please drop it on anything that you have. Um, ओके मैम, क्या मैं पहला पूरा एफए पाठ कर? Yeah, Devanshi, if you read the whole paper and then you give it, that's how it works, right? Like any subject, you have to read the whole part. I'm sure I got your question right. Let me know if I'm getting your question wrong. And somebody dropped a chat saying that they are in their graduate. Can I do ACCA? I think I saw that, but I don't see that comment anymore. Divyansh, I think I got your question right, isn't it? Not that great person in Hindi, I'm sorry. Okay. I hope we are good till now. I believe, guys, all your questions are sorted, all your questions are explained and told. I don't think so anything is pending. Okay, great. So this is the thing that I wanted to explain to you guys in terms of orientation. Right, so now let me go ahead and give you guys little heads up about introduction to accounting. Yeah, so what is this introduction to accounting, guys? See, I'm just gonna take you through, guys, like why do we need accounts? Why do we need accounts? See, let's all assume that we go ahead and open a small business. Yeah, so we open a very small business. This business I need to set up, and I also need to run the operations. I need to set up, and I should also run the operations, let's say, for 1 whole year. Correct. So if I need to set up, I need assets. Correct. If I need to set up, what do I need, guys? I need assets. So let's say the all the assets put together is I need plant and machinery. I need furnitures and fixtures. I need vehicles. I need a lot of things. Okay. So put together, let's say I spend somewhere around 10 million on the assets. Yeah. And to run the operations for the first year, for the first year, to run the operations for the first year, let's assume that we need around another 10 million. Yeah, I need to pay for wages, salaries, correct, electricity, etc., etc. These things we need what? We need to consider the picture. So now to set up the business and to run the business, I need how many million, guys? I need a good 20 million to start and run the business. Now what happens? Okay. To run the business and to set up the business together for the next 1 year, I need 20 million. So in the of operations, first year of operations, I make a revenue of, I made a sales of, let's assume 25 million. Now use your brain, everyone. Put it on live chat. Let's see if you are able to get me the answer. How much is the profit that we have made? So meanwhile, while you guys are calculating, I will answer. Ma'am, in November calculation, why we should not deduct the depreciation and interest expenses? I'm sorry, are you talking about accruals and prepayments? If you can give me a little context, maybe a question, I will be able to answer your question. Any little context, what are you actually talking about? Because I have not heard that we should not deduct depreciation and interest expenses in November calculation ever. But I want to know what context you're asking, or what question is it all about, or a particular topic where you, if you think you can put it a screenshot or something like that, maybe it can actually help me. Yes, others, but give it a shot. Like, tell me how much is the profit that I made in year one. I have set up 10 million for the assets. I have 10 million that I need to use to run the operations every single year, or the first year at least. So in the first year, I made a revenue of 25 million. So how much do you think is the profit that I have earned in year one? How much is the profit that I have earned in year one? No answers, guys? I expected some good participation from you. Okay. Let me tell you, it is going to be typically 15 million. See, understand that even though in first year together I have 20 million of expenditure, 20 million of expenditure, my operating or revenue expenditure are only 10 million. So it's very important that we need to know the difference between revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. So my profits are 15 million. My profits are 15 million. So assume I want to start up the business. To set up and run the business, I need 20 million. So how much cash or capital required? So the capital it is required is 20 million. Let's say to be in safer side, I will introduce additional 10 more million. Together I will bring 30 million into the books. Okay, I want to be in little safer side. So now if you see, I have not reduced the entire 20 million of what I have spent in the initial year. Rather, I have only deducted the 10 million of my revenue expenditure because the asset expenditure, or I would call it as capital expenditure, this is to set up. It is not just for 1 year. So that means the major thing that we need to understand the difference between is capital and revenue expenditure, which is something that we have to understand. Keep this in mind. Now the profits of 15 million goes to whom? Goes to the owners, like the proprietor, isn't it? Goes to the proprietor. So assume I have, as a proprietor, I have invested 30 million into the business, plus the business has made a profit of 15 million. Now the business has to pay back to me 45 million. The business have to pay back to the 45 million. Now understand, but do we have 45 million in our books of accounts? That is something that you have to look into that. So does the business actually carry 45 million readily available? That is something that we have to go ahead and look. So they go, I had a cash balance of 30 million. In that I have purchased an assets of 10 million. And I have revenue expenses that I have used for the whole 1 year is 10 million. मेरे पास I have only 10 million of cash available. I have only 10 million of cash available. But how much I have to settle to my owner? So today, let's say after 1 year, if we have to shut down the business, today, let's say after 1 year, if we have to go ahead and shut down the business, do I have the entire 45 million in my hand? Definitely not. Yeah, I have only 10 million in my cash. That is what I assume. But understand, don't you think I also made sales, guys? The sales of 25 million would increase the cash balance to 35 million overall. But how much I have to go ahead and settle my owner? I have to settle my proprietor 45 million. Do I have the 45 million in my hand? No, I have only 35 million in my hand. So where do you think additional 10 million is lying? Additional 10 million is lying in assets. For example, I have assets like property, plant and equipments. I have vehicles, I have furnitures and fixtures, electronic equipments. All of them, if I sell, I'll get 10 million. So I'll take all of them together, my assets together of 10 million. So together I have how much? 45 million, which I can use to settle to my owner. So this is the position of the business. So typically, why do we need to do accounts? For two reasons. The accounts ke liye only two reasons are there. One, to see the performance of the organization. To see the performance, which is measured in terms of statement of P&L. Another one, the second purpose is the position of the business. Where am I lying in? That is nothing but statement of financial position or balance sheet. These are all the two major things that I'm gonna consider. If I know these two major things, then I'm good to go in terms of accounts. To finally get into two major things, I mean the financial accounting, we do what? We do recording, and then analyzing, or I would say categorizing. We do recording, and then what do? We will go ahead and categorize in each topic, I mean each ledger, and then we will go ahead and summarize and provide the financial statements. These financial statements, this process is called financial reporting. I ultimately prepared two different financial statements. One is statement of P&L, which tells us what is the performance of an organization. Another one is statement of financial position, which talks about the position of the organization. We do accounts for this purpose, nothing else. There is nothing extra or beyond that we do accounts for. So it is just this much. I hope we are clear. Yeah, now I'm going to the live chat, everyone. Ma'am, okay. Ma'am, my class 12 में आज school. Okay, see, I get it, Krish. So, you have to plan accordingly, because when I talk about, you need to majorly understand that, of course, like when you start your 12th standard, I mean, like, so the teachers are going to decide the seating arrangement. I mean, they will keep a close watch on students and everything, right? So, as you have to understand that the school is about to become strict. I mean, they will have their attendance, you'll have their monitoring and all of that. So it's your job to adjust your the schedule to according to the financial accounting. So that is something that you have to keep it in mind. Okay. Great. Okay, Divyansh, if we talk about FA subject, so some part of class 11 and 12 will also cover, not the basic accounting term. Yes, Divyansh. Definitely, yes. Some part of your class 11 and 12 is also covered. Like, for example, you have share capital, share premium. How do we account for, how capital structure works there, right? So that is something that you can expect to have here. And in class 12, you'll be having certain depreciation part. Those things also will be considered here. Those things also can be expected to be shown up here. Yeah, and I think outstanding expenses, prepaid expenses, those things are also accruals and prepayments. So I would say 50 percentage will be 50 percentage you can expect to have this similar part. The remaining 50 percentage you'll be learning new in FA. 50 to 60, I would say. Great. Okay. Guys, now I'm all ears. So this is about the introduction to accounting that I actually wanted to show you guys for today. So I don't want you guys to have much of the classes. So you'll be starting with the conceptual framework and the basic part that we are supposed to learn. So that is something that you'll be learning in what? In the main subjects. All you guys have to do is go to the recording subject, just go to the comment section. You guys can see the link where you can enroll yourself, and you enroll yourself, you'll be able to get into the financial accounting complete end-to-end syllabus, everything on one single part. You can use that for your preparation. But right now I'm opening all ears for your live chats. If you have any sort of questions about financial accounting, or you have questions about ACCA for that matter, please drop it on the live chat, but please try to put it on English. It's very difficult for me to read in Hindi. But yes, try to drop it on the live chat. I will be able to answer as much as questions possible. I'm all yours, guys. Ma'am, how someone can find out that ACCA course is for you? I mean, it's about what do you want to do in your life, right? For example, I found out my ACCA courses for myself because I was in a journey of chartered accountant. I mean, like I was a CA. So based on that, I decided the factor that okay, somewhere CA finals was little difficult for me. I wouldn't say difficult, rather I would use the words like I was not very much certain about the results. So I didn't want to waste much of a time in my life, which is only to be looking forward the results, even though I have prepared enough. So I thought like okay, let me give it a try to ACCA. Because see, coming from a commerce background, one thing that we don't have an option is we do not, the only way that we gain that professional degree is either through a chartered accountancy or ACCA or CFA, CMA. There are multiple professional courses that is available, right? So if you compare out of all of these, because I didn't want to settle with just a BCom or just a master's, I wanted to have a professional degree added to my name. So when I thought about it, time wise, flexibility wise, and exposure wise, everything I felt somewhere deep down, ACCA is something comparatively having a better option. And I would also like to tell you guys that let me give you guys a little more clarity about ACCA. ACCA 10 years back when I almost started, that is completely different from right now. So right now, if you see, people know what is ACCA is. It's a professional course. Like when I started, nobody knew about it. So somewhere deep down, yes, you can decide the factor whether ACCA is for you or not based on what do you want. Like, I mean, do you need a professional degree? Do you want to work in a corporate? Do you want to practice somewhere? Right? Or it is also about like where do you want to fit yourself? Right? Because ACCA is more, if you enjoy subjects like accounts, finance, business, or ma'am, I really like problem solving, you don't have to be an expert in accounting right now, but you should be willing to learn and think logically. Right? If you see yourself, most likely areas like auditing, taxation, FR, or management accounting, ma'am, I would like to give suggestions. I want to be a business analyst. Then ACCA can be a great choice because it is a globally recognized qualification with great opportunities across many industries. But yeah, I would, you should ask yourself these questions before choosing ACCA. Do I enjoy working with numbers and analyzing information, or am I willing to invest time and effort into a professional qualification, or do I want an international career where with opportunities to work across the different countries? Yeah, am I really interested in finance and business rather than other fields? If your answer to these questions are yes, then ACCA could be a good choice for you. But also remember, don't choose ACCA just because your friends are doing it or someone else just says it's a good scope. See, if it matches your interest and strength and your career goals, the answer has to be yes. That's how I chose ACCA, and you can follow the same thing. My almost 90 percentage of study of FA is done. I understand accruals and prepayments, but their questions are too tricky. No, not really. It is really not tricky. But somewhere deep down, I understand accruals and prepayments could be nightmare to you guys. Why? Because you're learning it for the first time. Yeah, if you understand the logic, yeah, because but let me tell you, if you think it is too tricky, that's actually a good sign. That means you have understood the concept. The challenge is only now applying them in different scenarios, right? Which exactly what ACCA test. Correct. So accruals and prepayments are among the most frequently tested topics in FA. And the question seems tricky because they require you to identify which accounting period the expense or income actually belongs to rather than you just applying the formula. So if you ask me, my advice is just go back to the basic concept of matching income and expenses to the correct accounting period. So just take the random questions, practice variety of questions from BPP, Kaplan, and ACCA Study Hub. After each question, don't just check if your answer is right or wrong. Understand why the adjustment was actually made. So once you have solved some good 15 to 20 different questions on the same topic, trust me, you'll start noticing the pattern, and those tricky questions will become very, very easier. That is my suggestion or advice. Okay. Ritesh, I do remember. How are you? I hope you're good. Doing good. Small world. Didn't expect you here. I hope you're doing well. Okay. मैम एसएससी कंप्लीट करना है बाद में एसएससी लगता है क्या एसएससी साइन तो हाँ नाइस क्वेश्चन सी um yes, but there's a small difference. See, once you complete all the ACCA requirements, your exams, ethics, professional skill module, your practical experience requirement, you become an ACCA member. So at this point, you are entitled to use the designation ACCA after your name. For example, आपका नाम जो भी है, uh, you can take what? You can take your name. I think yeah, Divyansh Jain, and then you can put ACCA. Now, if you have passed all exams but you have not completed the membership requirements, you can't put ACC after your name. Instead, you can say I'm an ACC affiliate. For example, I completed my ACC a long back, but for 4 years, 5 years, I have not finished my PER. So I couldn't use the word Kauvya Ravichandran ACCA, but I can always say I'm an ACC affiliate. So regarding your second question, like it's a globally recognized professional accounting body. I mean, it is the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, right? So they do have headquarters in UK and everything. See, it sets a professional standard. I mean, it conducts examination, it gives memberships, it regulates the members through CPD requirements. So make sure that to have a signing authority, you need to understand which country you actually need to work upon. See, just because you become an ACCA, you can't have signing authority in every single country. Yeah. So, because it's a very common question. See, ACCA itself does not automatically give you like the statutory signing authority everywhere. Signing authority is actually governed by the laws and regulations of each country. For example, in UK and different countries, ACCA members can easily obtain practicing certificate. But however, you should have studied SBR according to UK rules and regulations. If you have studied SBR international level, you can't. You have to perform audit, public practice work and everything, you can. But provided, as I said, you have to get the practicing certificate based on the subjects. But in India, SCA does not provide any signing authority because CA is having, they are the member of ICAI. Only CA can do the signature. But however, you are practicing is something that you can consider. If your goal is to work in corporate finance, MNCs, or you want to work in a particular country and then get a signing authority for that country, yes, you can. But your aim has to be very clear onto that. Yeah. Okay. I'm very good to see you here, Ritesh. Trust me. I'm happy to see you, man. Okay. So then I have the next question. Ma'am, I completed my FA syllabus once by the Hindi version classes. क्या मुझे ये classes भी attend करनी चाहिए? No. See, I would definitely recommending attending classes, but you have already completed FA syllabus once. So this batch, if you're attending, it will act as a strong revision for you. You'll get a different perspective of the concepts, you'll learn new exam techniques, you identify agar kuch gaps hai in terms of understanding, that will help us. But every faculty has their own unique style of teaching, right? Sometimes uh, thoda sa concepts you might feel little difficult, one from one person to another person that becomes much easier because the explanation is different. Plus additional questions practice exam tips will boost your confidence. See, if your schedule allows, matlab mere paas time hai, I would suggest you to attend the classes because it will only strengthen your preparation and improve your chances of scoring well in the exam. But I don't have schedules, you can stick to the previous syllabus, just do the question solving practice, that should be fine. Great. Uh, Guys, I'm hoping to get some more questions, maybe. Okay, great. Guys, I believe there are no much questions. So if you have any questions, you can still put it on live chat. So I will be answering by typing it. So I believe this orientation session was actually helpful to all of you guys, whoever is attending. I believe somewhere deep down it did help you. So thank you so much for attending so long. Like, I know it was a lengthy session. I hope to see you guys in the recorded versions. I hope you guys will have a great learning on financial accounting, and I hope to see you guys an FA cleared paper. Okay. Yeah. Thank you all. Take care. I wish you all the best, everyone. Have a smooth journey.